Okay, today I want to talk about probably the easiest mod that you could ever do for your Fat Shark goggles. The One of the downsides of DVR is that audio is atrocious, right? It's either staticky or it's just prop noise, and it's useless, right? However, what I have discovered recently, and my friends at Heart of America showed me how to do this, was that you can take this Rush microphone, the tiny, tiny, tiny little microphone thing, and you could hook it up to your Rapid Fire and a lot of other goggle modules, and be able to get ambient audio for your surroundings. Not noticing the wind too much, which is what I was worried about. Like, the hang time is not great. Like, trying to send it over a tree, it picks it up. I might in your DVR. So instead of having prop noise or static or anything like that, you just hear what's going on around you. So if you're talking, like doing a review, you can just talk and you get the DVR. If you're at a race, you can hear your spotter and the announcer. If you're long range and you have something that you want to say to remember to check out later, you can say it out loud and your DVR will pick all of that up. I think that this is a awesome idea. I've been playing around with mine for about a week, and I'm going to show you how to do it right now. It's the easiest mod. It costs like $8 or something like that, and it's totally worth the while. So this is one of my new favorite things. It's a Rush FPV Racing Rush mic. And that's it. It's basically the world's tiniest little microphone. You can't even hardly see it. It's just so dinky. And it basically there's a mic up here, and then there's pads to be able to wire it into something. So typically you would use it for something like a VTX if you wanted to hear prop noise or something. One of the things that I've recently discovered, and this was thanks to my friends at Heart of America FPV, was that this can be used in combination with your goggles. This is my Rapid Fire. And on my Rapid Fire, if you look right there, I've modified it to add this mic to the goggles. So now the Rapid Fire basically takes ambient noise from like what's around me, and it pipes that noise into the DVR. So instead of hearing just like static or dumb prop noise or something like that, instead what I'm hearing is what is happening around like my actual body. So today I'm going to show you how to install this module into your Rapid Fires and all the settings that you need to change so that you can have ambient audio on your DVR. So just so you know, this is probably the easiest mod that you'll ever have to do to your goggles. Like it really is pretty straightforward. But so the first step is disassembly. There's two plastic pieces. There's one here on this edge, and then there's one right there. You've got to take both those off. Mine have kind of gotten worn out a little bit, so they're pretty easy to pop off. You just have to use a little bit of force. It just comes right off like that. And then if you look at the side that the SMA leads are on, there's some pins that are connecting the two boards together. You just have to very carefully pull the boards apart, and it will separate just like that. You can set aside the top half of the screen aside, and then you got to look at this piece. On this piece, there's a bunch of pads along the bottom. I don't know exactly what all of them are. A lot of them are disconnected. But if you look at the side that the SMA is on, and then you look at the corner opposite that, this is going to be your 5 volt. You skip 1, 2, that's your ground, and then 4, 5 are both audio. We need to bridge 4 and 5, connect the ground to ground, and the positive to positive. That's your 5 volt source. And then the two audio ones that we've bridged, or we will have bridged, are going to be where we'll wire up our yellow wire for the microphone. In building or in assembling mine, I found that I like to just put some long-ish wires on these pads and then wire it to the VTX or the microphone outside of the goggles, rather than trying to get the length of the wire right here. Just because it seems like it gives you a little bit better flexibility once the goggles are closed, because once you put all this stuff back together, it changes the lengths of the wires and all that stuff. So it's easier to just start with it disassembled with wires on. So I got 3 lengths of wire. Got a yellow for our audio, red for 5 volt, and then a brown for your ground. You can use whatever color you want. I just like to keep it simple for myself. So first step would be to just tin your wires. So tin your 5-volt, tin your ground, and then jump the audio pads. So like that. You can see that I've got those jumped together nice and easy. And then a pro tip is to wire the wires coming back in towards the device rather than out and away, because the way that you're going to run the wires later inside the goggles will benefit from having the wires run backwards. So here's the ground wire, here's the 5-volt, and here's the audio. Okay, so with that we can put the two halves back together and just make sure we run the wires out of the machine, out of the device. So put this on, take our plastic bit. I modified mine a little bit. I just cut out some of the plastic that's down there to make it easier to fit the wires. So now the wires are coming out and the whole thing is assembled. Put our last little plastic bit on here. So the place that I want this module to sit is just right here on this thing. It fits inside of the cover because there's actually quite a bit of space in there, so you can just set it right next to the USB. So I want to run these out long enough that I can fold them back on themselves so that that piece will fit in there. Then trim all these back, tin them up. And then if you take your Rush mic and you flip it over backwards, you can see which pads are which. So I'm going to tin all those up and then just connect them 5-volt ground audio, just like that. Okay, so now I've got this mic wired into the thing. You could test it at this stage because this is essentially 100% wired. But then what I'm going to do is just take a little tiny bit of heat shrink and cover the whole thing so that it doesn't short anything out on the module, which I wouldn't worry too much about, but might as well protect it. But then it also has the added effect of blocking any wind from getting on the module or on the mic. So that means that you're going to have good clear audio from your DVR. Okay, so that's wired in there. It's all shrunk up. Then I'm just going to take a little bit of double-sided tape, put it on the back side of that, and just kind of clean up these wires with some twisties. And stick it right on the side, just like that. Put the cover back on. Fits just fine. There's plenty of space in there, you can see. And then stick it back in the goggles. So then the only other thing that you have to do is once you power on your goggles, just go through the menu, pop over to audio, and make sure it's set to off. And that will allow the input from the mic to bypass the whole system and go into the goggles. So now when this starts recording DVR, I should get audio from the goggles themselves over top of the DVR instead of any prop noise or anything. So the whole purpose behind doing something like this would just be to capture the ambient audio. So for like me as a reviewer, or like when I'm reviewing an analog drone, it's awesome to just have that mic, that audio of me reacting to what's going on, talking through what's going on in the flight, giving feedback on the drone. Makes it really easy to mix that audio in with the DVR and share that with you guys. But more than that, I think it's also really useful for people that are, flying long range. You could have the conversation that you're having with your spotter, or, any kind of information that you want to throw out to like an audience that's watching later online or something like that. And another thing that I thought would be really interesting would be to see how this works, for example, at a race. So like at a drone race, you have spotters, you have announcers, things that are going on around you that are interesting information to add to DVR of that race. So like being able to capture all of that kind of ambient sound really adds a lot to the DVR and makes for kind of a more compelling story, something to watch, something to check out later. So I'm really excited about the possibilities that having the audio built into these goggles is going to have, and I can't wait to keep playing around with just what it could mean to have DVR or audio on DVR. So thanks for checking it out. I'm sure this was a nice and quick, little easy tutorial on how to do it. Easiest mod you could ever hope to do to your goggles. Thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff, and stay flying. Very first hover. I haven't actually even tested it yet. Ooh, it sounds good. Sounds awesome. Okay, here we go. Dude, I actually love the way this thing sounds. It feels like it has some weight to it. Oh shoot. Yeah, there's no way I'm taking that off. The yeah, like I'm not noticing the wind too much. Which is what I was worried about. Like the hang time is not great. Like trying to send it over a tree, it picks it up. I might try lowering the minimum throttle to see if that helps. But honestly, like it really does feel like I'm flying a freestyle drone, which is cool. Definitely not flying a race drone. Like it's got some, it's a little bit, it's not super choochy. Oop. There's kind of like, I wonder if there's like a throttle curve on it because it's kind of weird. This is full punch. I mean, it goes. There's a little bit of a breeze today, so you can kind of notice that. Just delete that RSSI message. I am really enjoying this actually. Especially with this, it's got a run cam racer in it, which is, you know, for analog, like one of the better options that you have out there. I love them. I've talked about them in other like micro videos, especially. Loving having this camera on board because you can just see everything. VTX seems alright. Getting about the same amount of range that I would get behind the house at any time. But yeah, it's responsive, it's fun, it gets a little bit of float when you need it. got a little bit of punch. Prop wash handling is pretty good. I love the tune on it or the default tune is pretty solid. Cool. Alright, that's about the end of that battery. Let's land it and have a look.